The room for Governor Cuomo's speech today. He's the mayor of Watertown, Jeff Graham. Thanks so much for your time, Mayor.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Talk a little bit about what you saw today. This was supposed to be a big event in Watertown.
Well, there was a lot of intensity with the governor using words like brutal and pain and so on related to this $10 billion shortfall he says he's going to have to close without raising taxes. So I think they're trying to soften up the public a little bit for the budget that comes out, I believe, February 3rd. And whether that works or not, I don't know. I think if you start talking cuts in like prisons or school aid and so on, you're going to see the usual people whining to their legislators, and we're going to be into the same rhetoric as years gone by. So whether he can, through force of will, make things different this year is still up in the air.
You said there were about 300-400 people in the room. What was the atmosphere like, and what was the reaction to his speech?
Well, it was basically a replay of the State address he gave in Albany, and you know, there were several interruptions of applause, diminished in value or in loudness, I guess, as the speech went on and so on. But you know, he talked about how bad things are in the state and how we spend too much money and we've got to learn to spend less, and those are all nice bromides that I think people buy into until the rubber hits the road, if you will, and actual proposals come out. So. I think we're going to see a lot of turmoil after February 3rd, but he seems pretty adamant and pretty persistent in what he wants to do, and I give him credit for trying to make some real change.
His spokesman said before this speech that it was going to be tailored to Watertown. It wasn't just going to be a regurgitation of the speech in Albany. Did you hear anything that was specifically tailored to your area?
Well, other than in the graphics, they put like Watertown unemployment numbers and things like that. It wasn't so much local issues. It was pretty much a replay of the speech that we all saw on YNN.
How much are you thinking that his budget cuts, his agenda, is going to impact your area?
Well, northern New York is an area where government presence is very large in terms of jobs. The best paying jobs up here are people like state troopers, prison guards, teachers, and so on. So you start cutting those, and it gets a lot of headlines, or it affects someone you know or someone in your family. So I think there'll be a lot of chatter after the budget comes out, but I also think there's a lot of people out there, myself included, who are just finally to the point where we say, hey, this guy's talking austerity, he's talking like Governor Christie in New Jersey, and that's just what we need in this state. And I'm kind of cheering for him and rooting him on.
Well, you talked about prisons. That is something that's going to impact your area, and that's certainly something that he's harped on in terms of closing prisons, scaling back employees there.
Well, I know when he gave the speech a week or so ago, the biggest applause line was when he said incarceration is not an upstate jobs program. That didn't get as much of an applause up here, obviously, but it is something to consider. You can't just keep these places open and warehouse people in them solely because it supplies jobs in some areas. So that's going to be a very tough decision. This sort of network of prisons that's been set up upstate with one or two in every Senate district creates a real political dilemma for anyone trying to make cuts in that arena, because the people who see one being cut, as we saw last year with the one in Ogdensburg, they're going to squeal loud, and the one in Ogdensburg ended up being restored.
Well, you talk about political dilemmas. Another one there would be mandate relief. That's something that's probably a big deal for you. Have you heard enough about that in his speeches to put you at ease?
You know, I've been to enough of these Conference of Mayors meetings over the years and heard the rhetoric enough times about the Wicks law and the Taylor law and all these other things, and we never see too much. You know, some of the relief in terms of what's called 207A, I think, firefighter disability and all of that, some of these tremendous costs that are laid on municipal governments. I'm not sure any governor is going to find it easy to get these things through the legislature. There's an awful lot of political muscle on the other side. So, you know, mandate relief is something we've heard a lot before. I think as far as the city of Watertown, we're probably in better shape than a lot of municipalities. So I think we can weather what storm there is. But I'm more interested in seeing what's proposed in terms of municipal consolidations, getting rid of the 10,005 taxing jurisdictions in New York, getting rid of some of these authorities that are just become basically patronage mills and so on. Those are the things that he talks about that need to happen, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, you say wait and see. Are you optimistic, though, that that type of thing could get through in your area, that it could get some public support? Because he talks a lot about building public support and getting people behind him.
Right. I think the governor is wise in trying to bring his message directly to the people and bypassing the usual filters that are in the way. But, you know, that's just it. I mean, when you start talking about cutting teachers, all of a sudden maybe that teacher is related to someone in the news business or someone in some other business, and they're politically connected, and all of a sudden the whole thing unravels. You know, everybody wants austerity, but nobody really wants it when it affects them a little more closely. But I think there's a lot of people out there in New York State who aren't tied into the system, who aren't profiting off the system, and you know, maybe they were the Palladino followers from last year, but they really want to see something done. So there is a constituency for change, and I admire the governor for trying to do that. And you know, he's got a short window here in which to accomplish these things, because as we saw with Governor Pataki a couple decades ago, he had 1 year of good legislating and I think 11 years of just giving in to the unions. And you know, I think this governor will find it's going to be tough to sustain this for more than a few months.
Well, Governor Cuomo was in Jamestown yesterday, Watertown today, and he said he's starting this Bring It to the People tour in areas that he thinks Albany has quote-unquote forgotten. Do you feel forgotten by the Capitol in Watertown?
No, we don't feel forgotten up here. My goodness, you know, you're good enough to put me on this show. That means we're not forgotten. So, no, I don't think that's the case. I think there has been more awareness of upstate in recent times, and you know, we do fine up here. I mean, maybe we need a little less government, and instead of being told that we need more from Albany. So, no, I don't feel forgotten up here. I think a lot of other people don't as well.
Well, lastly, then, if I could ask you, what are the things you're looking to hear in his budget address? Anything in particular you're going to have your ears perked up for?
Well, like I said, I'm going to be looking for proposals that reorganize government at the local level, such as what was done in nearby province of Ontario, where the provincial government actually forced localities to combine. Just funding more studies at the local level is just a consultant full employment program. We need, you know, some actual muscle from Albany to get rid of some of these different commissions, boards, water districts, sewer districts, lighting districts, everything else that's crisscrossing upstate New York. So I think it's that. I'm going to be looking for mandate relief, particularly aspects of the Taylor Law as it relates to public employees. And, you know, the other things, I'll let people in the prisons and school systems worry about those.
Well, certainly a lot to listen for, Mayor. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Caitlin.